ACMOS and Beyond, a transformational journey. Okay, so who is this program for and this event for? It's for change makers. It's for therapists and coaches who are looking for something deeper, who are already really in touch with their work, but they just know that there might be another level there, and they've got a profound interest in total health. People who are ready to improve their own health as well as transform their practice. So where might you be now? Let's just have a little think. So perhaps you already are very aware that there's an energetic aspect to health, and yet you're not sure what the best route to follow is. So maybe you're a bit confused by an overwhelming amount of information. Your inbox may be full of offers. So which offer suits you best? And perhaps, like me, you've had your own health challenges. And when you have your own health challenges, you start to prioritize your health, your family's health. Mostly we're working with the well-being of others. It's really important to look after our own health. So where would you like to be? Why have you joined me today? Envisage yourself with a new set of keys, a key that in your therapy practice will open hidden doorways and pathways, will connect you with the super sensitive information that you can't pick up simply by listening or talking to your clients. Visualize yourself being able to find in the morass of therapies, options out there for helping your clients, being able to identify the best key at the optimum time to really reach the place that your client is trying to get to and to repair their health, restore their well-being, heal their spirit. And picture a time not too far in the future when you might get an email like this. And I received this email yesterday from Olivia. Oh, Carol, gosh, what an evening. That evening, I immediately felt such a weight lifted and feel like myself again. Didn't realize how much I wasn't myself. Completely changed the way I'm interacting with my loved ones too. Very interesting. So thank you. As therapists, it really raises our spirits when we receive wonderful feedback from our clients, and then our clients start to broadcast our work and they become a source of referrals. Word of mouth in the therapy marketplace is absolutely the best place to get your new clients. And envisage yourself taking your clients along a new route, a change of direction, following your inner compass and having a healthy, thriving practice. So how will you get from that place of confusion where there's so many courses on the marketplace to that place of serenity where you made the right choice for you? There are many routes, but I believe that you'll get there by totally embracing energy as essential to health. In fact, I believe that energy is not only essential to health, it's absolutely inseparable from health. No energy, no life. And then as therapists and practitioners, we're all out of a job. So what do I mean by energy? Am I talking about something weird or wacky or woo-woo? I am talking about something that's different from any other therapy that I've come across, because it's based on tuning energetic information, and it gets to the spaces and the hidden information and the nooks and crannies, we call them in Scotland, that other therapies may miss. Energy is everywhere and everything. It's all around us and it's within us. The energy we're talking about is not some field that is around us. We're not just talking about the aura. The energy of life is in your cells. It's in your client's cells. It's the life force. It is the fuel that allows us to be healthy or less healthy, depending on how well we calibrate and use our energy and whether we have enough of it. So let's just take a little look at physics, just to show that energy in health is not woo-woo. Physical energy. Energy equals work done. That's a physics equation. I learned that in probably at about 14 or 15 in high school. Our neurons are firing off. Ideas and emotional energy are creating or sustaining charge. Charge in our nervous system, charge in our heart, charge in our bodies. But energy is also vibrational. It's a ripple or a wave, the ripple that we send out into the universe and that reflects back to us, the energy of our soul. So energy impacts us at all levels, but it particularly impacts your client's speed dynamic. We don't think in terms of velocity when we think of the human body, and yet everything is working at its optimum speed when we're fit and well. The level of arousal, how fast the body is working or how slow. Is it hypo or hyper? You'll be aware and familiar with diseases like hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism. Too slow, too fast. So balancing the speed is important. And thermodynamics, or heat energy, also affects our health and well-being. When it's very cold outside, we're more likely to pick up germs and to exhibit illnesses like viral infections, colds, flus. And what happens? Our body pushes our temperature up. It does that as part of our defense mechanism. So that's really important too. But we don't want to operate too hot and too fast all the time, do we? Another aspect of physics, fluid dynamics. It's engineering. Our bodies are made of little tiny tubes, and our blood, quite a thick liquid, has to get through those tubes. So if we're operating at the correct speed and the correct heat, then we improve the viscosity of our thick fluids and they move better. So fluid dynamics, how often do we think about that when we're talking about health and well-being? Looking back to the etymology of the words, the origin in common language of the words physics is the natural science. And the root or etymology of energy is the work within. So ACMOS is not magic. It's not a panacea for all things, doesn't cure everything or everyone. And it's not a psychic gift. We have a Lecher antenna, which is a scientific tool, not a crystal ball. So what do I mean by ACMOS? It's an acronym which stands for the analysis of the compatibility of the materials of the organism and their synergy, working together with the available energy to promote health. And ACMOS is a bridge. It's a bridge between Western medicine, anatomy, physiology, pathology, and Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda. It's a pathway between the underlying energetic patterns and how those eventually manifest in our structure as disease. Often disease happens with no warning. All of a sudden, we're impacted by something in our structure that has been brewing in our energetics for a long time. So a symptom evolves. It depends on our ancestral programming, our genetic predispositions, our diet, our lifestyle, how much we exercise, because all of these things influence our inherent blueprint of information, our pattern. And when our pattern is distorted, then we get changes at a cellular level. When the energy body is trying to resolve something that is an undercurrent in the energetics, it will sometimes use a symptom as a safety vent. Now, what happens if you plug up a safety vent? That tension grows behind the plug, or it has to find another route to release itself. And that's why we don't treat symptoms. We don't treat disease. We simply balance energy. So how is ACMOS Energy Medicine going to help you to achieve your goals? It gives you access to a set of subtle language skills. Now, I've put ESP for extrasensory perception, which may be thought of by some as something woo or out there. But all that it means is perception that's out with the range of our normal senses. Seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting. So things like sensing, feeling, tuning in with. There is an additional level of ESP between the practitioner and the client at an unconscious level. The practitioner's job is to interpret what they're finding. The ACMOS method is rooted in science. This is René Nakastian. René was an instrumentation engineer. He worked with Boeing in the 1950s and 60s. He was at the forefront of engineering in airlines, in motor vehicles, designing dashboards, designing speedometers, designing the instruments. But he had a problem with his knee, and there was no solution in France other than to give up his beloved tennis and to wait for a knee replacement. Now, he did eventually have those knees replaced, but 40 years after it was first suggested. So Dr. René Nakastian, PhDs in microbiology and energy medicine, with a background and a degree in instrumentation engineering. And that's important. He had fastidious attention to detail. And so the ACMOS method is rooted in measurements. These are the instruments that he created with his team of engineers back in the 70s, the 80s, and the antenna was introduced into the process in the 90s, always evolving More recently, practice for ACMOS practitioners has moved much more online, and nowadays I don't have to leave my home to see anyone, and no one has to leave their home to see me. I conduct all of my ACMOS practice at distance. It saves travel time and it saves maintaining a big office space. So it benefits me and it benefits my clients. And I'm often asked, is it as good? I would say, hand on heart, that I sometimes feel it's better. Much more focused, less chit-chat. Those who know me well know that I like a good blether. And when we're working online, whether on Zoom or remotely, I'm very focused. I can feel the energy change. So let's just have a little look. We have protocols to follow. Harmonization, taking the body from a state of disharmony or incoherence back into harmony. And that builds the resources. And what do I mean by resources? It's a bit like having a battery of energy that you can draw upon when your day-to-day working energy has more than enough work to do. An example is when you're unwell. When you're unwell, your body's very busy. Another time that your body's very busy is at puberty. It's changing, it's metamorphosing into something different. The physical form is changing. And so there's less energy to manage the emotions. And we all know that teenagers sometimes throw tantrums or lose control of their emotions. So we have a way to balance the energy body, the underlying blueprint. There's a disturbance in the wave signal. We call that ACMOS. We also have a way to balance the matter body, the energy in the cells and in the working side of the body. So we have the particle aspect, disturbance in the particles, the molecules, the cells, the organs, or the systems. And we call that pathos. We also have a protocol for balancing a particular part. If it's out of alignment or out of balance itself, it can be too costly to the whole. So the part upsets the whole, and we deal with that as an organic issue, a local issue. We use a protocol to get energy moving when it's been stuck because acupuncture points have become blocked. We restore the flow using our stimulation protocol. And then, of course, we're all affected by things around us in life, and all these external factors and interactions reduce the quality of our energy. And so we have protocols to reduce the impact of our environmental stressors, and therefore it's called the environment protocol. So that's just a quick flavor of what can be available. The roots of ACMOS are in Chinese medicine, acupuncture and herbal medicine. Dr. Rennie fainted when he received acupuncture in China for his knee pain, but yet his knee pain got better. So he went back to Paris, where he lived, determined to find a way to stimulate acupuncture points without needles. And remember that this was in the time before electroacupuncture units were widely available. He was a pioneer. Ayurveda. He found in Ayurveda a philosophy of replacing the parts that are needed, similar to replacing a fuse in an electrical circuit, using herbal remedies, using essential oils, homeopathic remedies, minerals, trace elements. And so he built a kit of remedies we call harmonies to restore the circuits of the human energy body. Ayurveda. Ayur means life, Veda, science and knowledge. So why is now a good time to contemplate making energy an integral part of your practice? Well, we've had a pandemic of viral illness over the last few years, but as a result, we've seen an increase in the number of patients and the number of clients with fatigue, with anxiety, with depression. We're living in a pandemic of stress. Staff in our care systems, our hospital systems, our doctors' surgeries, therapists in general are overwhelmed by the demand. In the mainstream care sectors, the staff are absolutely exhausted because they can't limit their appointments. People keep coming through the door. And so the system is at breaking point. People are having to wait far too long to be seen, and therefore they're looking elsewhere. There's so many people looking for help now that this is the perfect time to pivot your business in a way that can help people with these symptoms that have no easy solution in Western medicine. It may horrify you to know that 530 million adults have symptoms of chronic fatigue, and those are just the ones who are diagnosed. That is 10% of the adult population of the earth. That's why people are saying, help me. I'm looking beyond the mainstream. So who am I? Who is Carol Robertson? Well, as you can see from this slide, I am an author. The book's been out since earlier this year and helps people to understand the principles of the Lecher antenna. But let's go back a little bit. And before we go into my story, I'm just going to put a question to you. Have you ever wondered, what is your health worth? And what is their health worth to your clients? Sometimes we don't prioritize our health enough. We spend our money on new cars or television sets or fancy holidays that are finished with 2 weeks later. What is health worth? So let me take you back now to 1994. And on the 6th of August, 1994, I got married. And on the 1st of August, 1994, I received a diagnosis of Hodgkin's disease. I had a lymphoma in my neck, and it needed treatment and it needed surgery. And in 1994, I didn't know half the things that I know now. And so I immediately was offered surgery, and they removed one node from my neck, but couldn't get rid of the second because it was attached to sensitive structures. So I also had radiotherapy treatment, and that radiation really destroyed my health for about 8 years. Speaking of chronic fatigue, I was housebound with chronic fatigue for 2 years following my treatment for the lymphoma. So I know what it feels like. I've been where some of your clients are and perhaps where some of you are. Don't go down the burnout road too far. In 2003, I was called back into the hospital, where a very concerned doctor sat me down and said, I'm really sorry to say that the treatment we gave you in 1994 is now being shown to cause cancers anywhere in the field of radiation. I had radiation from the tip of my chin to my diaphragm and out to both shoulders. So the big risk for me was breast cancer, as much as 1 in 4 within the next 10 years. Well, that was 20 years ago. And here we are, and here I still am. So I started looking for a way to improve my health. And in 2006, I met up with a friend called Pam Robertson. She was doing a demonstration of ACMOS at a health fair near where I live. And she said to me, Carol, why don't you give this a go? You're a physiotherapist, and this is based in science and physics and Chinese medicine. You'd be really good at it. Well, I had really wanted to do a Chinese medicine degree, but by that time I had 2 toddlers and I live in Inverness in the Highlands of Scotland with no e-learning available in those days. And so I took the opportunity to go to the next ACMOS method training. Acupuncture. I already did acupuncture, so it was easy for me to step into that. It was like a light bulb moment and the world suddenly opened up in front of me again. I could protect my own health. I could learn something that I wanted to know about. I could really get engrossed by this method. So little by little things changed. And at first I was really wary of being found out. There we go, the imposter syndrome, by my peers in the physiotherapy profession, by the Healthcare Professions Council, for doing something rather odd or different. And so I conducted some clinical research, and here we see the results of that research showing that after 1 ACMOS balance, 1 month later, my clients had a 56% reduction in their symptoms. And I repeated this same research again 4 years later, and I took everyone out of that who'd had their symptom for less than 5 years. So really chronic, long-standing symptoms, and the results were the same, give or take 1%. So ACMOS, even though we don't treat diseases or symptoms, changes symptoms. Here's the proof. In 2011, I started taking some of the classes in Paris. In those days, Dr. Rene led all the classes, and his niece, Widad Nash, and myself helped him with those classes. But gradually we did more and more. And over time, I came to lead the international teaching team. And in 2018, Widad and I were invited by ACMOS India to go to Bangalore to speak at an international conference in energy medicine, headlined by Donna Eden. And we spoke to over 400 people here at the Pyramid in Bengaluru. Fantastic experience. Wonderful food, wonderful people, and guess what? Dancing at the end of the conference. 2021, I was interviewed by Kasper Schulk of Innovative Medicine in New York on his podcast about your health, your story. And I talked a little bit about my health and how it had led me into the ACMOS method and then into teaching. And then in 2022, I launched my Best Resonant Health program, teaching practitioners around the world to optimize their own health and to bring energy medicine with a scientific basis, with roots in anatomy and physiology, Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, into their clinical practice. So let me just take you back for a second to that question. What is the true value of health? When we are healthy and well, we're able to go out there and enjoy ourselves. We can do things with our families. We can have fun. We may choose to sit quietly and read a book, or we may choose to go to a party or to go for a run. We take it for granted. And the aspect of health that we don't think about is time. Quality time with our family, quality time with our friends, quality time to read that book. When I was truly unwell, I couldn't read a book or drive or watch the television. I didn't have the energy. So what will ACMOS do for your clients? Well, it'll help them to optimize their energy levels. That puts their body into the best place in order to repair itself. Self-management, self-repair, self-healing. Our bodies do this all the time, but sometimes they get overwhelmed. But I call my practice Best Resonant Health, which stands for Bioenergetic Synergy Techniques for Resonant Health, working together with the living energy to restore harmony and health. That's the natural science of the work within, combination of physics and energy in healthcare. So just let me introduce you briefly to the program. This is just very much an overview, and we were going to do a bit of a deep dive into various sections as we talk through, and we'll have a little bit of a taster here and there just to give you a bit of a treat and a bit of something different to listen to. So here's a question. Do you think that all energy medicine courses are created equal? There's so many out there. Some of them very deep, very powerful. Some of them just a weekend here or there. The ACMOS method stands out in its depth, in its scope, and its results. It's rooted in the sciences of instrumentation technology, engineering, physics, but also anatomy, physiology, Chinese medicine, medical ethics. I have a health professional background of 40 years. I bring that with me into my work. So here's another question to pose. I've written it as a statement. Information cannot change physical health. We all know that. Energy medicine, that's woo-woo nonsense that those charlatans do, and they take money from the poor public and make all sorts of statements about what they can achieve. Is that true? I find the public well able to choose for themselves, and my client list comes through word of mouth. And I practice information modulation of health, or information medicine. Information cannot change physical health, or can it? Let's see. This gentleman's leg was hot, red, itchy, and swollen. I didn't think to take photographs before the first balance, and before the first balance, his leg was almost the colour of the plinth, the bed underneath his leg. So the first thing I did was tell him to go to his doctor and to be referred to a specialist in the vascular or circulatory part of the hospital. And he did subsequently have a leaky valve in his groin repaired. But before he ever got as far as the hospital, he had some amazing results. After the second session and 3 weeks with some information being addressed to his physical body, this was his leg. The redness had gone, the itch had gone, the pain had gone, the swelling had gone. You can still see where he'd been scratching for a long time before he ever passed through my door. And you can still see, if you look carefully in the middle of the shin, that there's a varicose vein there. So there's still back pressure from that leaky valve. But the symptoms had settled down, and he said to me, I wouldn't have bothered the doctor with this, but my recommendation was you still need to go. And he did, and he had surgery to repair the valve, and his leg is still fine now. That was years ago, early days for me. So how did we do it? How did we do that? Simply followed the instructions of his energy body. And what do I mean by that? Well, I showed you our protocol earlier. When you have a protocol to follow and the tools to follow it, and you understand where you're going, then you'd be amazed at what's possible. So let's have a little experiment, shall we? Let's see if there is a universal ACMOgram or energy symbol. So I'm going to use my Lecker antenna, and I'm going to scan across the numbers. These numbers are from the I Ching, and we're going to form the equivalent of a barcode. But what do I mean by a barcode? Lines of information that carry, if you scan something in the supermarket, you expect to see the price, the weight, the manufacturer, whether it's on special offer, possibly what your competitor is charging. And that information is held in a series of black and white lines, some thick, some thin. So we use strong or broken lines, yang or yin lines from the I Ching of Chinese medicine that's been around for thousands of years. So we're going to go Qian, Qian, Kan. So there's the response there on the third column, and then 5, 3, number 29. So we've got number 29, which is a mixture of thick or broken and unbroken lines. And I'm going to ask, because we use colors to personalize these even more, is it a 2-color symbol or a 3-color symbol? We have a code so that our software can produce the right symbol. We all carry our own unique energetic blueprint of information, but when we can access it, we can reset the patterns. And the body then does the rest. That gentleman's leg repaired itself. All I did was recalibrate his energetic blueprint according to what he asked for. It's really important. And this is what the students were feeding back this week, the importance for them of remembering, because we have a class now with quite a number of medical backgrounds, nursing and osteopathy and medicine itself. And their tendency is to want to think diagnostically and symptomatically. And we have to keep pulling them back in and saying, no, we're going to take a step back from there and we're going to look for the underlying root cause. When we identify the underlying root cause, the person will select the best remedy for that from our test kit. And what do I mean by a test kit? Well, here is this great big box full of many remedies, layers and layers of them. So we give the body the solution and we give it the option to choose for itself. My job is to translate and facilitate, not to lead. So what my students really have begun to understand, and those who've finished the program and who are now working out there as ACMOS practitioners, is that this is a game changer for their clients. This is different to any of the other routes they've followed before, because energy can be calibrated and health can be optimized. But the ideal way to do that is not with a one-size treatment fits all. It's with a personalized, tailored program that the person's body leads you to through the protocols. So let's just go back and look a little bit more closely at some of the aspects of the program. And the first thing we're going to look at is magnetizing the mind. Why is this important? Well, a curious mind learns well. A curious mind is stimulated, it wants to find out more, And also, a curious mind is a bit like Velcro. And what you learn sticks if it's interesting. If it's not interesting, then over the top of the head and gone before you've time to catch it. So the first aspect of our program is aimed at engaging people's minds, engaging their interest, looking at the things that you've all learned before, because I'm not talking to you as lay people off the street. You're professionals, you're therapists, you're coaches, you're already working or have a lot of experience in either Chinese medicine or health and well-being. So we look to engage your mind in a different way, maybe in a unique way, to look from lots of different angles, to look through the lens of Western medicine, and look again through the lens of Chinese medicine, and look through the lens of energy medicine, energetics, biophysics. And so we do that through our stem of health system. We systematically take you through whatever is needed to follow the instructions of the energy body in an excited way, in a passionate way, getting to grips with what it all means. You know, this is really where our students excel and start to stand out in the marketplace. You know, that's important. Yes, there's huge demand for healthcare services, but people are also picking and choosing. They're not just going for the next best thing. They want to go for the best thing. So let's take a little bit of a dive into the stem of health system, the science, technology, and engineering of medicine. We're going to look a little bit today at the technology aspect. Tech ABCs, the antenna, the biofeedback, communication, so important, and a system that pulls them all together. The Lecker antenna can be used for measuring, and it could be used for questioning. So could we just call it dowsing? Well, we could, but isn't it something more when you can change the setting, where you can calibrate to different wavelengths along this antenna? An antenna, a sending and receiving or broadcasting device. But antennas have a long history. The Lecker antenna, the Lecker loop, a single wire, has been used in physics to measure wavelength for over 100 years. You might think back to the old radio in your car dashboard, where you turn the dial to tune into the station. And when you hit the radio station, the music comes through. And if you want to change the station, you move the dial, the slider moves along the Lecker loop that's behind the dashboard, the music comes through again. Now, this has been surpassed by the digital era. However, it's still a valid instrument and it's still used. Do we go back even further in time to the radio sets of the world wars, across the battlefields? If you knew which station to set the wavelength at, you could hear the communications coming across the airwaves, whether by Morse code or later on through voice communication. None of us think anything nowadays of picking up a phone and assuming that we will be able to speak to someone at the other end. 100 years ago, that was the best phone available. And it's very accurate. It's accurate in health testing and in biofeedback. Here's a message from a client who attended one of my taster sessions. It wasn't a full in-depth session, and yet his experience was this: "Thank you so much for your wonderful mini balance during the taster session today. It far exceeded any preconceived notions I may have had, and I am amazed that I had a felt sense of treatment in real time." Now, this gentleman also shared with me that he had a long history of using dowsing, and he felt that the Lecker antenna was more accurate than any dowsing that he had ever either completed himself or received. But this gentleman runs a company which sells supplements. And so he now uses a Lecker antenna to test the quality of the products that he puts in his supplements and whether they work harmoniously together. So that's one application of using the ACMOS method and the Lecker antenna. So the stem of health system, that was our technology branch. We're going to go on now and look at the next aspect of the program, which is balance the body. And what do I mean by balance of the body? Our bodies are always busy. They're always doing things. And when they're busy, then they sometimes forget to finish one task in order to start another. If you imagine, just like I did yesterday, when you ask too much of the RAM of your computer and it runs out of memory, then it cannot cope sometimes with the simplest of jobs. It starts to run more slowly. And actually, I lost a huge swathe of this PowerPoint and had to do it again because my computer was overwhelmed. So our bodies get overwhelmed. There's so much going on in the environment around us. There's so much going on in our health, in our families, in the weather systems of the world. They all affect us. So balancing the body, really important. And so we enable our clients, able-bodied. You enable your clients. You make them more able to balance their energetics. When you treat someone, you're always looking to make that person more efficient and to optimize their health. So how do we do it? We do it through our Peak of Health program. So let's just have a little bit of a look at the peak of health. Our perception influences how we feel about our lives and about our health. Our environment has a huge impact. This poor lady is trying to maintain her health in the most awful of environments. Our ancestral patterns have a big influence on whether or not we manifest certain diseases. And knowledge is power. When we understand what's happening in our body, it's easier to make whatever changes are necessary or to adapt, and we can accept and move on, or we can change things. So knowledge gives people choices, and choices matter. So let's just take a bit of a deep dive now into ancestry, the age of ancestry. Now, what do I mean by ancestry? Well, it's got three components, really. We've got anteriority, we've got genetics, and we've got epigenetics. So I'm going to just cover those a little bit first, and then we'll go back to anteriority in a more of a deep dive. But genetics, the direct transference of hereditary information. When there's an inherited disease, and that's hardwired into the genetic code, examples, muscular dystrophy, cystic fibrosis, there's a mutation in the gene code that means that people manifest that disease. And epigenetics, soft-wired. There's massive evidence for transference of information across the generations through flagging of the DNA, flagging of the genes, which are switched on or switched off depending on environmental exposure to toxins or to warfare in particular. A lot of evidence with Holocaust survivors and their children and grandchildren, Native American Indians, the Irish population, and there's lots of studies. The studies into epigenetics started with mice, with a transfer across generations to a noxious stimuli like an electric shock. First generation were shocked and a hooter sounded. Their offspring reacted as if they'd been shocked when a hooter sounded, but they were never shocked. So there is definite transfer of information across the generations due to trauma. And then anteriority. Anterior, what does anterior mean? It means in front. In front, what came in front of us? What came before us? So the ancestral tendencies wired into our DNA from the far distant past. So we're not looking at family patterns here. We're looking at human patterns. So what do I mean by human patterns? Our bodies and our cells and our DNA contains the equivalent of a database of human lived experiences. And those experiences can be natural or man-made. So let's just have a little bit of a look at the negative side first. Things that get stuck in our anteriority and will be carried forwards down the generations, gradually becoming deeper and deeper, like a Russian doll of genetic programming. We go through the layers, and each layer can dispose an aspect of the past, of the anteriority, the ancestral past that led us to where we are now. Because without our ancestors, we wouldn't be here. So things like plagues, and we've had a recent plague with COVID. Vaccines, now that's a controversial subject. The controversy itself has become a human issue. It worries lots of people. When anything worries lots of people, it can get stuck in our coding. Wars, tsunamis, famine, extreme weather systems. And you've got to have a place in there for the media who are like a magnifier. They like turn up the volume of all of these problems. They create more charge around them. We already know that charge influences the emotional body and things get stuck. But our anteriority, our connection with our ancestors, also gives us our human resilience. It gives us inner strength when we can connect back with that strength of the human species, the survival of the fittest throughout the generations. It gives us endurance and hope and direction. And most importantly, it gives us connection with source. Now, what do I mean by source? That collective energy, that universal flow. Some call it the 0-point field, some would call it God, some would have another name. In ACMOS, we use a number on the antenna to look at whether people are connected with source, with the energy of all that is, with the universal patterns that flow through each and every one of us. We look at it on 1.1. When we connect with 1.1 more strongly, it gives us a deeper connection with the self. So let's just take a moment to look within ourselves. Let's just breathe deeply. Close your eyes. Expand your chest. Plant your feet a little more firmly on the ground. And turn your face and your palms of your hands upwards. Center in the center of yourself. If you wish to, you can open your eyes and look out at that beautiful lake. And in your mind's eye, walking along that platform into the lake to the very end, where you're going to sit down, legs crossed, fingertips connected, hands over your heart, and breathe. Recognize the wonder that is the world around us, the wonder that is the universal flow. And with every breath, you're going to connect a little more, deepening that connection within yourself and through yourself to all things at a bodily level, the level of your organs, connecting at the level of your cells and your atoms, connecting with the spaces within your atoms, the space within space and time. Taking another big breath and just allowing your hands to fall open again. And just have a little wriggle. So you embody that feeling of peace that you were able to connect with. Beautiful. So people are looking for alternative ways to balance their health problems, to manage their health without resorting to pharmaceuticals. And although I've used the word alternative here, I prefer the term complementary, because complementary health works alongside, and sometimes there is a place for mainstream or allopathic health. Both have value when well applied. We now know that experiences can impact our DNA, and we simply don't know the long-term outcome of pollution, of mobile phones, of EMFs. We don't know what's happening with our diets, with pharmacological solutions, and with one-size-fits-all medicine. But all of these things, if they can affect our body, then we know that we can also affect in a positive way. We can strengthen, we can increase our resilience, we can connect with source very quickly and easily, as you just saw, to strengthen your energetics, to strengthen your batteries, your resources. So perhaps we can also influence the DNA through these healing modalities. I haven't got scientific, rigorous proof to show you. All I have is story upon story upon story of recovery, of reconnection with the self from my clients, and the stories that my students bring me of the success that they have when they start moving into becoming practitioners, where they tell me that they couldn't have known some of the information that came out during a session that was spot on for that person and made total sense for their client. That's what gives you quality as a practitioner, to be able to understand and interpret. And it also gives you confidence when you start to get results. So why us? Why the ACMOS method, and why this Best Resonant Health program? It is one of the most holistic unique and profound courses available. It's rooted in physics and Chinese medicine. We can work at distance or face-to-face. And we train practitioners, not technicians. We could do this course more quickly and people would know how to do the practice, but they might not have the expertise in the communication side, in the decoding the person's story. But we search for the root cause, always client-led. Over time, you do become more intuitive and your practice will continue to evolve. So Heineken, they used to have an advert in the 1980s. Heineken beer reaches parts other beers don't reach. Well, perhaps ACMOS reaches parts that other therapies don't reach. So our doors are opening for 10 new students ready for the journey of a lifetime. And we do keep our class size small. Those of you who know me know that marketing is not my thing. I'm not comfortable with it. So we are offering 10 places for a year-long program. Are you ready to join us? Let's have a look at what one of our former students had to say in a Facebook post just the other day. Mukta said, "It seems like my story. So fortunate to have found you and done my mentorship with you. Your passion is impeccable. So grateful for sharing such powerful knowledge with us in such depth." And then she added, "Love you." So thank you, Mukta. The connection I build with my students is so important. We're forming a community of practitioners that spans the globe. We're forming a small wave, a ripple. Do you want to join us? And we don't muck around with prices and say it's going to be £1 million and you can have it for 5 pence. You know, we're pretty upfront with our pricing, but we'll come back to that. So let's go back and look at the next part, the final part of the Best Resonant Health program. Satisfy the soul. When I talked to some of my clients recently in order to do these presentations, I asked them what mattered most to them. Was it the getting rid of the symptoms? And David shared his story with me. He had terrible anxiety. He was unable to leave the house at times, crippled with anxiety and agoraphobia. After one session, he went on the bus into the nearby town. And I was like, that's great, that's wonderful. He said, yeah, that wasn't the best thing. The best thing was feeling like myself again. Like Olivia said in the email earlier, she hadn't realized how much she didn't feel like herself. And that balance, that one balance, brought that self back online. Don't underestimate the need for that inner connectedness with yourself. So we enrich lives. We make our clients' lives richer and we make our practitioners' lives richer too, because they feed back to us like Mukta just did, saying what a difference it made to her life. And we have the Heart of Health healing journey. So let's just have a little bit of a dive in there too. Satisfying the soul, which is holistic, it's energetic, it's really, really authentic, connecting people with their authentic selves. There are revelations. What's a revelation? When someone understands something about themselves that they didn't know before, and that can be transformational. So let's have a little bit of a closer look at revelation, the understanding part. Revealing the story, the spiritual, truthful, optimized, and restored version of you, because you are unique. Step with me into the divine light of Source and heal yourself from within. So when we start to look at people's stories, let's have a little bit of a think what that means. When life is easy and our energetic resources or our batteries or our savings account are strong, we don't show the fragile patterns of our ancestry, our genetics, or our epigenetics. Our resources are strong and we sail through life in quite a jolly way. But underneath the sea level are our family patterns. So what happens when we have less resources or those resources are stretched too thin? So the types of things that build our resources, and there's a lot of evidence again to show that children who feel secure turn into adults who live longer and healthier lives. Children who are exposed to trauma, the ACEs, the adverse childhood experiences, if they have a lot of ACEs early in childhood, it can take 20 years off the lifespan. That's a phenomenal loss of time. Remember what we asked? What is health worth? It's worth quality of life and it's worth time. And the other thing, which was revealed by the Boston study, which has been running since after the Second World War, comparing Harvard students with people from the ghettos of Boston, young men it started with. And that study is still running, and it shows that human companionship and close relationships mean that people live longer and happier lives. So that connection with source is what connects us with others. It's the connection, the soul-to-soul connection between parent and child, between husband and wife. And if we don't have a specific partner, then between close friends and family, that sustains our well-being. Lily mentioned that she felt her family dynamics had improved after she had an energy balance, and that therefore has a long-term effect on her health. Because our inherited tensions show when our energetic resources are low. Life's experiences and our inherited patterns start to rise like rocks and pinnacles above the sea level. So the energy balance restores and reveals your story. It reveals what's happened along life's path, whether it was environmental influences or inherited influences, whether it was traits and tendencies that you came into life with, or whether life was too stressful and that overwhelmed your resources. And at the same time, the work restores your deep resource energy. That's our primary aim, for you to be able to restore the deep resource energy in your clients so that they have the capacity to cope with life's inevitable ups and downs. We're not just doing it for fun. So what are the energetic driving forces or the dynamics of life? Well, energy enters our food chain from the sun, but it also enters our bodies through our skin. That energy is yang, it's hot, it's fast, it's radiant, it's exciting. And our Lecher antenna, we measure it at 12. And then the earth has that natural anti-inflammatory effect. It's yin in nature, so it's quieting. It collects, calms, cools, and soothes. It nurtures. It provides the sustenance to the plants that we eat. But without the sun, those plants wouldn't grow. Without the water collected in the Earth's atmosphere falling as rain, those plants wouldn't grow. And without them, we wouldn't be here. So we need our ancestors, and we also need the dynamics of life. And when we balance someone's energy, we're looking at bringing in the information they've given us in a way which is either constructive, which means it is equivalent to turning up the volume, or strengthening the healthy signals, or in an interference pattern which wipes out or clears a noxious signal, equivalent to turning down the volume or switching something off. So we strengthen healthy signals with a constructive interference pattern, and we clear negative memories with a destructive interference pattern. It's destructive to the pattern, not to the person. And how do we apply that? We do it using the various stations on the antenna. And we measure at the start and we measure at the end to make sure that change actually has taken place in the flow of energy in that person's body, so that you, the practitioner, can know you've done a good job, so that your client can see that their energy has changed, and then everyone is happy. They go away, they give you a bit of feedback later on. I usually ask for feedback after a month to give the body time to catch up with the information and the energy. So would you like to help your clients look within themselves, to decode their past, and to help them realign with their true self, rebuild their energy resources, and rewrite their story? So what is my motivation? Why am I so passionate about this? Well, let me share someone very special with you. This is Dr. René Nakashian. He's the creator of the ACMOS method, and he was like a father figure to me. We just spoke the same language. We managed to work together very closely. We had the same sort of sense of humor. So René was my mentor. He was, as I said, a father figure to me, and he was my friend. So when he passed away in 2019, I was overwhelmed with a need to continue his work that transformed my life, work that got me off steroids after 7 years, low dose, but 1 ACMOS balance. I didn't need the steroids anymore. and they were prescribed originally for 2 weeks. But Rennie Nakashian, we do this for you and to help people. One of my students said to me in class yesterday, when I listen to you, it's as if Dr. Rennie is sitting by your shoulder. She was just giving me feedback on how she found the online classes. And, can't even speak about how her feedback made me feel. ACMOS changed my life, and using ACMOS has changed my clients' lives, and teaching ACMOS has changed my students' lives. And I'll share some of their stories with you in a moment. So the ACMOS method, bringing credibility and ethics to the emerging science of subtle energy healing. My company, the International Academy of Energetic Health, works in partnership with the International Academy of Bioenergetics in Paris, which is still run by Dr. Rennie's family. Isabelle, Antoine, and Caroline run the business. ACMOS is a French system of energy medicine. That's why it's relatively unknown. But if we can share this work with the world, even in a small way, we can change lots of lives. This is not for you if you'd rather be sitting watching telly, or you'd rather be playing on your mobile phone, yeah, okay, half an eye on the screen. If you're not prepared to put the work in, this is not a giveaway certification. You qualify as an ACMOS method practitioner when you follow my program. We don't give that to you if you don't do the work. So if you don't have the time, or you don't have the finances, or you don't have the self-motivation and willpower, then watch the telly. Save yourself a pile of money. But if you want to make an impact on the world, if you're a dynamic, driven health professional or therapist who wants to leave their mark, who wants to really make a difference in people's lives, who's been looking for their true north, a new direction, something where they retain their humility, something where you understand that healing comes from within, and you're happy to translate and facilitate and allow that person, your client's bodies, to lead you, then this might just be the program for you. So the best resonant health program by professionals for professionals. What do you get when you join us? You get lifetime access, 50 hours of core modules, which are pre-recorded, which take you through the ACMOS method training. But on top of that, you get at least 50 hours of live classes. We meet for between an hour and an hour and a half every week, except between Christmas and New Year, and possibly in the summer holidays, just for a week or two. The live sessions are also recorded and shared. Those are question and answer sessions, deep dives. We do practical cases, we do masterclasses. And as people get further into the program, we do case study reviews and we do feedback on case studies, and then we lead into exams. Yes, the E word, there are exams, there's a written exam, there's practical exam, and there are case studies to be completed. This is a real qualification that will stand you in stead to elevate your practice to the next level. During the period of your mentorship, then you get live support working directly with me. We work with small groups, so we do limit the number of students who come onto our programs. We also just recently have started offering twice a month healing sessions to support your own health. These are open to the general public as well. The feedback we've had is that people feel the change because the energetics of the world around us at the moment are impacting everyone. So you have those sessions to support your own health and well-being as you support the health and well-being of your clients. You also get access to all of our course material. We've got a course on the Lecker antenna, mastering the antenna. We've got courses on color therapy, and sometimes throughout the year we do other courses. So you get access to all of our products when you join the mentorship program. And after you qualify, we have an ongoing alumni program, which gives you ongoing access to the class lives, professional development, deepening your knowledge, and also aspects of business mentoring to help you get your practice off the ground. We're not just going to throw you out there and leave you to fend for yourself. We are with you every step of the way. Let's have a look at the price. And, you might be already thinking what sort of figures I might be talking about. So I'm just going to tell you. Let's just go for it. So today's price is not almost 11,000. It's not even 8,000. And I've paid much more than this for some of the courses I've done in the last few years. Our usual preferential price of 4,995. Of course, it can be difficult for people to pay in full, and therefore we do offer our price of $4,995 over 3 installments of $1,665 per installment at monthly intervals. That sounds like something manageable for you, for a package that I don't believe you can get anywhere else, with such attention to small numbers and to detail and to supporting you. We also, I forgot to add, we have a little WhatsApp group as well, so that we can keep in touch between the classes. We can send you the links easily. When we say mentoring, we mean it. I mean it. And when we say lifelong access, we mean that too. Because if anything happens to me, my team are already instructed to make everything downloadable so that you can keep your products forever. So let's have a look back at some of our alumni. Here's Ada. You saw her beautiful picture earlier. And she's a passionate learner. She's still in our alumni program because she wants to know more. She's got her certificate, she's practicing. And what she said, the market for various healing modalities are vast and can be challenging for those who are seeking the best approach for their unique interest or personal challenges. Feel having Carol as a mentor is a blessing and a privilege. Carol's passion for helping others and desire to get ACMOS known not only to those who are interested in bioenergetics, but also to medical professionals, shows her passion towards creating an empowered world for us all. I wish you the best in your journey of discovery and hope to see or meet you at Carol's community portal. Love and blessings, Ada Walsh. So love and blessings to you too. You've made me go red, Ada, but it's difficult to sit and read out very nice things about yourself, but you know what? It's also wonderful. It's wonderful to be able to help people to reach their goals. So let's look at some more information from Mukta. Learning from Carol has been an amazing experience in the truest sense of that word. Her immense knowledge of this very advanced ACMOS system has tremendously helped me in my own healing journey as well as my profession as an Ayurvedic practitioner. And here are two of our other former students. You might want to follow in the footsteps of Tanuja and Anna, because Tanuja works with a company called ACMOS India, and she's now working, translating this work into Hindi to make it accessible. And Anna, also a former student and a practitioner with some years of practice under her belt, and we're hoping that she'll continue to become a teacher, and she's translating the work into Spanish. So we're working together to spread that ripple out even further around the world. So here we have ACMOS teachers in the blue, or student teachers, and we have my team dotted in various parts of the world. And then we have in the pink circles practitioners in various locations gathered over a number of years. For now, there we have the team. Dad, Dr. Rennie, Captain Singh, and myself in Paris in 2018. Rennie worked until he really reached his very old age. He was still teaching, even when he wasn't in the class, he was teaching us. I feel blessed and fortunate to have been his mentee, to have learned at the foot of a master and to follow in the footsteps of a giant. Thank you for your time today.